Boost, Marty.
And greetings, everyone. I won't go through the usual Marty Bucco
introduction.
Oh, go on then. Go on. Bucco! Marty Bucco! Hello. And welcome. Welcome. Well, we've got Lee with us today. You've been to the gym.
I have. Been a good boy.
Yeah, you've lost a little bit of weight. Not just through the exercise, because you've been not too well with that.
I spent 2 days without having anything to eat except a yoghurt.
Wow.
No appetite at all.
Wow, yeah.
Right as rain now.
That's it. And a reminder as well, we're coming up to the 16th. It won't be long now, a couple of days.
Next Saturday, yeah.
At the Black Country Living Museum. And we look forward to seeing some friends who we know, who have been before, and also some new faces for them to come up and introduce themselves. As you said, Lee, it was a really good time.
I enjoyed it. It was not a nice. It's a nice event last year. It was good.
Yeah, and so on these times, Lee comes and joins me here, and we have a good chin wag with Janie over a cup of tea, and then we think, well, we'll do a video. I merely jot down a few thoughts of things that have struck me to talk on and reflect on, and we discuss or just run it past each other, and Lee comes out with a few bits. It's very informal, off the cuff.
It's not planned, is it? You just write down a few things that you like to discuss.
So the first thing, we're shopping at the supermarket. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, in a particular supermarket, begins with T, we were struggling the last few weeks to even find a trolley. You know, I was going around looking for people to talk to on where are the trolleys, you know. I did eventually find a guy who rounds up some of the trolleys, and he says, well, they're actually stealing them, he said, to make barbecues in. He says they're very good for barbecues, and people have been taking them. I mean, wow, what can you say to that, really? Would they really find...
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. And of course...
Just buy a barbecue, how much are they?
Well, yeah, walking off with the trolleys. And equally, within the supermarket, on a different occasion, we were amazed. It was packed out. This was, I think it was at the weekend, yeah. It was packed out on the lines with people going through with the trolleys. And, well, when I say packed out, each one of those probably had 4 or 5, even 6 of the trolleys. But when I looked at the self-service, things that we try to avoid using for obvious reasons, I'd never seen such a queue before, Lee. It just stretched right round and round and round and right back out of sight. And I says to Jane, look at this. If they came and stood where the trolleys are now, they'd get through quicker than that. What? Surely it defeats the purpose. You're going there because you're supposed to go straight in and out, you know, or very quick. But nothing of the sort. No. And then I said, now look, they're still queuing up, knowing it may take even longer than going through the main trolleys. That has to be a form of brainwashing. That you just, no, we're going to do this, we're going to stick with this self-service. And yet, have you seen that? Have you ever seen them where they're that long and they actually beat the...
In truth, no, I haven't. I'll give in different supermarkets to what you do.
Yeah.
What I've noticed in the one that I pop in occasionally, I wouldn't do my weekly shop there, it's too expensive. But people tend to want to use the singular lady on her own.
Right.
On the tobacco counter. Obviously, they can't take a full trolley through. But there seem not to be. People don't seem to be wanting to use the self-checkouts. I'd rather be dealt with a
Right.
human being. And again, it's just another one of these examples. At corporate level, they've decided, well, the people don't want it, but they're going to have it anyway. They'll have to lump it. But they're not voting with their actions.
Yeah.
You know, the other supermarket I go into occasionally, that's again, it's the opposite side of the city. That's quite different. I tend to find the self-service part of it is usually quite bizarre. I refuse to use it. I wouldn't consider myself a complete Luddite, but in this instance, nah. It is losing jobs.
Do you find, looking at the people on the self-service, that they are young? Is there any particular age range in general? You think younger people use it?
Yeah, the younger.
Older people, you think they like a personal touch, and many of them with cash still? I still see quite a number of old people.
No, it's younger people using the technology, flashing the phones and paying with the phones and stuff like that. It's the latest thing for them, isn't it? And it's what youth does. Youth embraces fresh fashions.
Yeah.
And you can stick it. I ain't interested. I want to be served by a person. And you get, so let's say you get rid of everybody, right? You just basically have a feeding station, right? So there's no staff there. The shelves are replenished by robots or conveyor belts. So there's zero humans. Do you think the price of your shopping is going to go down? Do you think it's going to be cheaper now they're able to pay all these wages? It's a lot of rubbish.
No, they still want the price. You see, people, these big bosses, these big corporations, they're not just interested in a wage, are they? They want profit. And we're talking about millions and millions and millions. And if we can save more millions, even though we rake in millions and millions and millions, but if we can just make more millions, that's the mindset, isn't it?
For the shareholders, isn't it? That's how it works. But I understand how it works. I just don't like it or agree with it. Yeah. To a point. I mean, I ain't against capitalism, but you reach a point when so I just prefer to be served by a human being, have a chat with somebody.
No, absolutely. And, some people, as we know, they don't, older people, infirm people, whatever, they may not see much of any human beings. And even those they see now are being removed. It's a very sad...
And you've also got that, I mean, that, to me, that's a choice. If I needed to, I could use the self-service checkout. I prefer not to. But can you imagine my mum and dad at this stage going through one of them things? It'd be a right palaver.
Exactly.
It'd ruin the day. They'd end up falling out with each other. Why ain't it working? I thought you're supposed to scan that. Well, I've done it.
Oh, yeah. Watching a YouTube advert, because we're not familiar with the adverts on TV, because we thankfully have parted ways with receiving things that come through on the TV. We just watched the computer YouTube, the sites we want to watch or put on DVDs and things. Anyway, that said, you still get adverts coming up on YouTube, don't you?
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by this particular one, which obviously was psychological. I looked at it, and basically it was an advert about Rail Network. And it showed you a lady with a book, reading, walking too close towards the rail, past the yellow line. And suddenly a train went by, and in her shock she drops the book on the floor, and then the talking voice comes up about whatever they were keeping people safe, and railnetwork.com and various things they were saying. But upon thinking on it, I thought, well, how interesting that it was a book rather than this.
Yeah, rather than a screen.
Because the vast majority, now you may well see somebody reading a book, it may be me, sitting reading a book on the train. But the vast majority of people on the platform and on the train are actually in this. They're not in a book, but not to offend anybody. They portrayed it as a
substitute
book.
aren't
And I said, that's psychology, and I spotted it.
they? Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen the
that
advert, but it's true. I mean, we spoke about this earlier on. You drive around and the amount of people that are completely oblivious to their surroundings. They've literally got the phone in front of them, walking down the road, completely zoned and blinkered out.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on around them. In shops, you can't uninvent something. And phones, smartphones, they have got their uses. I use them. We all use them. They've got benefits.
Yeah.
But people are actually just living it now. They're not engaging what's going on around them. Still Marty, and I saw it's quite old now. I think there's a restaurant in America, and the restaurant owner realised that the way families were enjoying meals together had changed, and he thought it was quite sinister. Because basically you get mum and dad and the kids are just be ignoring everybody and blanking everybody on the phones. So he says, right, it's basically got like a glorified cheese dome in the middle of like a cage that's lockable. And if you put your mobile phones in it and it's locked so you can't access them, it'll knock so much off your bill.
Brilliant.
So the families are forced to talk to each other again and be human, rather
Good
than just
idea,
ignoring everybody and concentrating on Candy Crush or whatever they're messing about with. But yeah, it was good.
Really
idea.
good idea that was. Yeah.
Because he recognised it's changed the atmosphere of the restaurants and it wasn't good.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, that can only be a very good thing. Wish it was implemented more. Another aspect, because you often mention, Lee, when you're driving, things related to cars and the strange things they do, or the odd things that suddenly you've got to be so careful because people will behave irresponsible, irrational. A couple of incidents. Literally just before we got back to the house from shopping, before you came, we were going in to West Brom on the bus, me and Jane, and doing a bit of shopping. And we got off the normal stop in the city centre. It pulled up, he stopped the bus, a number of people were getting off. Someone got off, I got off. And then as I turned back, as Jane's the next one in line to get off the bus started moving again with the doors open, and Jane had one foot almost hanging out and I put my hands out ready to break a fall if she was going down, and he then stopped the bus. And he did apologise. Obviously he was saying sorry. But people were shocked around him. And as I say, one step out, it could have been a nasty fall, a nasty break your nose, smash your teeth, falling on the... Who knows what could have happened. So grateful to God for the fact that she was okay. And that's one instance of somebody glitching in their mind and doing something. I'd never been on a bus before where that had happened. And then there was another incident. This was just walking from the newsagents back home, and near the bus stop there was a large lorry that had a trailer, which was he wanted to back up and then turn. It was an enormously long thing. But these are good drivers, and I know he'll have this done, 15 seconds maybe. He'll have done his manoeuvre and gone the way he wanted to go. But there was a car there that wasn't prepared to wait 15, 20 seconds. And so he mounted the pavement, right? He mounted the pavement and shot off like a bat from hell, And there was somebody on the pavement who had to sort of go into the wall. Now, and then I saw a similar thing coming back from work. A car in its haste did not want to wait. It wanted to get through the barrier because it was near the train station, and it wanted to get through quickly before the barrier came down. So it went round on the pavement and down we go. So 2 in a week, mounting the pavement, and do you see anything?
It's another example of in isolation, these things have always happened. You go back to the 1940s, you would have got one impatient driver mount the footpath.
Yeah.
You know, so it's always happened. It's nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes. But is it increasing? Is it getting more and more? And not just because road traffic volume is increasing. Is the incidence of people losing their rag and becoming impatient and aggressive and angry, is that increasing? Well, I think yes. They're doing some ridiculous things, and I mean, even racing around supermarket car parks. And there's old people, there's women with kids, taking them shopping, you know, trolleys, and them racing around like they're qualifying for a Grand Prix, and it's not the place for it. And you know, I think we've all been a bit naughty at some points, you know, putting your foot down when you shouldn't have done. But this is different. This is just downright aggression. Like, get out of the way, I'm the first, I'm fair. It's just anger. And I don't get this. You've got to detach yourself from it. But I see an awful lot on the road. I do a fair few miles. I'm doing, well, not as much as some, but I'm doing a few 100 miles a week now, different places. And yeah, the impatience, people not wanting to wait for a second, and if there's a gap, no matter how ridiculous the manoeuvre is, they've got to squeeze themselves into it because winning. I'm 10 foot in front. The traffic lights are on red, and I've got another 10 miles to go, but I'm 10 foot in front. I'm winning. Just chill. Just calm down a bit, right? Relax. Leave a bit of a gap. Everything will flow better. And it will. This is the key, and I've always said this. All these people, I've got to get first. You can wait. Me. I'll jump the line. It slows everything down. Yeah. Everybody's on the brakes. Yeah. Tailgating one of her brake lights flashing, bunching, all this. If those you just slack off, leave that space, everything just meshes so much better and quicker, and you'll get there quicker and safer. You're gaining nothing. It's just like, tell you what, if you're feeling aggression, get down the gym, right, learn how to box. Really? Yeah. Don't do it on the road.
Yeah, spot on. And did you want to comment on that chat from work? Or whatever?
I don't want to be too specific.
The story that you told.
He was asking the question earlier on that. Again, a lot of things, as I've just mentioned, as I've just stated, things that always happened, but they're increasing. You're hearing more of it, and I'm wondering whether psychologically it's linked to this. There's a guy at work, and it's fair to say he's an enthusiast of this. And he's a very placid, I found him a very placid, nice man. I always got on well with him. He was sensible. And again, I can't be specific because it's a personal thing, and I don't know the full circumstances anyway. But he's been involved in an incident involving aggression that was completely out of character as far as I'm concerned. And I'm wondering whether, again, which ties into people's behaviour on the roads and other places, this increased aggression, is it simply because life's more difficult now? People feel like they've got less power and control over their lives. Everything's too much of a squeeze these days. You know, the money's tight. Is it that, or is it something that's changed? Physiologically, has it changed the way the brain operates? As this one of the byproducts of it? Has it made people more aggressive? Because there does seem to be more aggressive behaviour going around. There does. Yeah. To such a point sometimes. Sometimes when I go out on my own, I very often just want to be back in the flat. Whereas before I'd go wandering. But I don't know. You see groups of lads now, and there seems to be an aggression, and it's not just perceived; it's actually real. They're confrontational that we didn't exhibit when we were teenagers.
You get odd times. Do you ever get odd times where you're it comes back to this, what you're saying on spiritual warfare, things happening around you. You gave the illustration of the car with your talk on the 666. But I said to Jane, there was, coming back from work and for no reason, walking down the street, people unwind the window and hurl abuse at you, and you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
The most outrageous things thrown at you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you say, groups of teenagers and that, walking back home from that.
There seems to be
just abuse for no reason, and just slinging it at you, the most foul stuff. I just think it's funny.
And not just that, there's a distinct lack of manners.
Yeah. Now, on this again, we've had this incident stepping off the bus driving off. We did our shopping. We were in a particular shop that deals with children's stuff, everything from children's colouring books to stickers to little books to jigsaw puzzles, things for children. Now, the shop wasn't totally for children, but it basically a lot of things for young people because of the grandchildren and stuff. So we were in there getting a few bits, and I noticed a particular book sitting on the bookshelf of some of the books that they have, and I felt it was utterly inappropriate. It was on a serial killer of children, a chap called I don't even like saying his name, but it was this chap called John Wayne Gacy. Now, to me, it even besmirches the name of the old film star John Wayne, who stood for various things that were kindly
this is in the kids section.
Humane. It's in the shop.
Mm.
Okay, so you've got, throughout the shop is related to children's stuff, but there are a few sort of, books, whether it's on footballers, David Beckham, or whether there's a few books. But here you have a shop that deals with things for children, a lot of things for children, and they're advertising a book on a child serial killer. To me, it didn't sit well and it didn't seem right. I was umming and ahhing whether I was going to say something to the assistant, but I just thought, just leave it, Bucko, just let it go. But it doesn't sit well, does it? There's something wrong in that. How can you have this book for sale?
Well, it does obviously seem a bit odd, but what I've noticed is, from a Christian perspective, we know that in the final season, Satan is on the end of his chain. Now his time's running out, and he'll start ramping up what he does. And again, nothing new under the sun. But just lately, there seems to be this obsession with death, right? Skull tattoos, death. Yeah. Horror films, hacking people up, death, dying death. The Lord's given us this wonderful world to live in. Right? We're alive, we're here, enjoy it, live. But there seems to be this obsession with, I don't watch the telly, but I know there was a Netflix thing on quite recently about, what was his name, the serial killer. I don't know, but again, it's killing and death and misery and butchery, and people seem to be fixed with this, and you should be concerned about living, not dying.
Yes, absolutely, and
because the devil's got sway.
Yeah. Well, we've gone on to 23 minutes.
We have,
and I think we should leave it there. Yeah. Why not?
I'm going to run out of memory soon anyway.
That's it. We don't want it to cut out halfway through.
No.
Okay, so we wish you all well.
Yeah, 16.
For those planning on coming, we will see you in a few days' time. And for the rest, be seeing you.
God bless.